Welcome to the opening reception of the Women+Water Rights, Rivers of Regeneration art exhibition and related programs. We are here in the Katherine E. Nash Gallery of the Twin City campus of the University of Minnesota, where some 800 people have come to celebrate the long-awaited results of the more than 2 years of intense planning and organizing by the exhibition's 3 principal sponsors and coordinators: the University Department of Art, the Women's Caucus for Art, and the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. In addition to the members of these 3 organizations, more than 100 volunteers and collaborators have contributed their knowledge, their talents, and their time to make sure that this exhibition accomplishes its multiple purposes, which are to bring critical examination of the world's water crisis to public attention, to recall the traditional relationship of women to water, to examine the roles modern women and girls are playing in the use and management of water resources, both in the developed and developing areas of the world, to support gender equity in decision-making positions, to encourage activism to declare water a universal human right to be held in the public commons, not as a privatized commodity, and last, but certainly not least, to allow artists to express their views about these issues through visual imagery that reaches both the minds and the emotions of the spectators and inspires them to take action. The exhibition, which took place from February 23rd to March 25th of 2010 and is now scheduled to continue traveling to other galleries in the United States and in several foreign countries, has been lauded for its quality and diversity. The wide variety of genres presented includes the works of a number of invited national and international artists, a selection of regional artists from the upper Mississippi River Basin, chosen in a juried competition judged by noted art critic and author Lucy Lepard, selected video art, and postcard mail art open to everyone, everywhere. You will be able to get glimpses of these various artworks as we join other guests roaming from room to room on this opening night.
As it tumbles through space for billions and billions of years, when you slice it, it gets this pattern. And that pattern that goes like this, your heart muscles have that same pattern.
Could I ask you guys a couple of questions about the show?
Sure.
What do you think of the exhibition so far?
I think we've enjoyed it.
There's a wide variety of media and approaches.
Okay.
It is very diversified. It's very unique. It's different from most of the show you would expect in the Twin Cities, like more contemporary. This is more it's hard to define. This is not really like just a simple or pure art show.
Yeah.
What you can see at Nash, Walker, or Weizmann. This is much more like I can't find the correct word at this time, but probably campaign. Maybe more like a campaign. It's rather than an art show.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, it could be say cliche to enhance people's awareness, but it is still true to enhance people's awareness of certain issues. This kind of activity, I think, is much more broad audience and engage much more people. You see that it's very rare to see so many people in Nash. Normally we see that maybe half of the size.
Right.
So I think that is very it's very significant, and they have done tremendous work. And I think that is a huge success.
Socially and environmentally conscious.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's
Absolutely.
political in its way.
You can say it.
Well, yeah.
At first blush, I haven't been through the whole thing, but it's absolutely lovely. And having said that, I have to be careful because I haven't seen everything, but this piece absolutely knocks me out. I absolutely love this piece.
I think it's a really fabulous exhibition. I'm really impressed with the work. I'm impressed with the diversity of the work. I'm actually really pleasantly surprised with how many different mediums there are, how many different approaches. It feels like there's just a really interesting investigation into the idea of water and how many different ways we can understand it. Yeah.
In the brief program for this event, you will meet the three coordinators of the Women and Water Rights exhibition, Professor Diane Katsiaficas from the University of Minnesota Department of Art, Liz Dodson from the Women's Caucus for Art, and Marilyn Cuneo from the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. They speak of their motivation for coming together to undertake this ambitious experiment of combining an academic institution, a national organization, and an international organization to accomplish their mutual goals in a unique way.
And do you think art has the ability to motivate people to address the water crisis?
I think it has the ability to move us on an emotional level, and if that is something that will motivate people, then I think it might be indirect. It might be a couple of steps. You know, make people feel first, and then from the feeling, make them change. Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yep.
Cool.
Certainly yes. Certainly yes.
Okay.
It's it's a very strong advocate of the social responsibility of all creative artists.
Yeah.
It's a writer, artist, composer, intellectuals. Everybody should have a. Let's just give you end it with one quote. Theodore Adorno. You know this guy?
Yeah.
The French, that's a German philosopher.
Yep.
What he said is, after Auschwitz, the pure art is impossible.
Yeah.
So I believe today that is, the pure art is just impossible.
Yeah.
The art must have a social element to it,
Yeah, yeah.
or in some way, not in plain propaganda way, but the any art. So the art do have a responsibility, and art does have this power.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
I admit I was a little, I don't want to say cynical, but after seeing the show, I'd say yes, without question. It is inspiring, more so than a pamphlet on why you shouldn't waste water. I think it might take people to the next level of actual acting rather than thinking. So, if it does succeed, that's art at its best.
I'm not sure. I don't think art by itself can do that. I think art in concert with other things and other forces. And, I don't think art itself organizes people. But I think art can do many things that are important in that organizing process. I think art can inspire. I think art can motivate. I think it can motivate, but I think you have to have other pieces happening too to get people involved.
Sure.
So, but I do see art as being an essential piece in the process of change, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
This lovely exhibit of our Women+Water rights, Rivers of Regeneration. I'm Marilyn Cuneo, and I'm here tonight representing the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. The members of this organization believe that women must assume responsible positions in the decision-making processes to manage the use and to prevent the abuse of life's most critical natural resource.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us this evening as we celebrate this beautiful exhibition and the launch of our month-long schedule of events. I'm Liz Dodson, co-coordinator. I represent the Women's Caucus for Art, one of the 3 primary sponsors of this exhibition and its related programming. I want to thank the Women's Caucus for Art, whose mission we share: art plus education plus activism. Water is a universal human right. Thank you.
My name is Diane Katsiaficas. I'm a professor here in the Department of Art and have been working as part of the core committee on this project. What is it about women and water rights that is significant? But what for me was lacking are the images, the many images that mirror the dilemmas and the prospects, that this would initiate a collective response, that prescient images that address the complexity and the variability of responsible water practice and the rights of women from individual to community to global are integral to this.
From the traditional keepers of the water.
Each and every woman here has that responsibility. The men must stand behind the women in this fight and must be able to help us protect the water.
Everyone, like my mother says, takes that responsibility, take that into your heart, and pass that down to your children.
The exhibition is launched in a traditional ceremony of blessing the waters conducted by an intergenerational family of Ojibwe Native American women. This evening's program closes with a rousing performance by Stirring the Waters, an intergenerational women's percussion band, a call to action. We invite you to move to the beat as we join the other attendees to view the art and listen to the conversations it invokes. When a great idea becomes a great mission, the results surprise even the organizers. As you enter the gallery, you will see guests studying the plaques and messages on the water wall. Conceived by the members of the Arts Committee of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom and Professor Diane Katsiaficas of the University of Minnesota Department of Art, it displays the faces and accomplishments of 7 outstanding women who each in her own way began with a single idea and dedicated herself to bringing it to fruition. Vandana Shiva from India, Maud Barlow from Canada, Anne Firth Murray from New Zealand, Gemma Bulos from the Philippines, Fran Peavy and Jan Hartsoe from California, and Sandy Spieler from Minnesota. 3 of them, Vandana Shiva, Gemma Bulos, and Sandy Spieler, were featured speakers at the close of the exhibition, inspiring the audiences to connect for action. To learn more about them, visit our website, womenandwater.net. The inspiration for Women and Water Rights, Rivers of Regeneration, WWR exhibition project, that became the work of the 3 co-coordinators, Liz Dodson, Diane Katsiaficas, Marilyn Cuneo, is the outcome of Liz Dodson bringing an Osher lifelong learning class to the Nash Gallery and speaking to the art director about a potential proposal from the community. Then Liz Dodson, along with 2 other women, Mary Eileen Sorensen and Marilyn Cuneo, wrote a proposal that was accepted by the Nash Gallery, and the journey began in 2007. The month-long Women and Water Rights, Rivers of Regeneration art exhibition, together with its wide variety of related programs, set a new attendance record for visitors at the Katherine E. Nash Gallery in the Regis Center for Art on the West Bank of the University of Minnesota. It didn't take long for the word to spread. Here was an unusual opportunity to see works by local, regional, national, and international women artists, and a few men collaborators, all calling on their creative talents to explore and express their mental and emotional reactions to the ever-expanding world water crisis. In the language of art, through visual imagery, paintings, sculpture, videos, photography, drawing, they speak of the use and abuse of water, of its availability and accessibility, its sacredness, its commodification, its contamination, and the urgent need to recognize it as a human right. In the tradition of the Women's Caucus for Art, or WCA, and the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, WILF, and the support of the Art Department at the University of Minnesota, WWR is designed to provoke action through shared perceptions, the building of awareness, and the creating of value. Speakers from the 2-day symposium on women and water rights can also be seen in this video. 5 women active in Minnesota water management spoke on the first day, dedicated to local issues, and 4 women from other parts of the United States presented global issues on the second day. The WWR collaboration among artists, with scientists, and activist groups has brought images to text and thereby expanded the potential of influencing action on water issues in the Twin Cities area. The first WWR travel exhibition to follow the Nash is in Rochester, Minnesota in November and December of 2010 and is titled Water Matters. Many others are in the planning stages and scheduled to follow. Both an outcome and a beginning, the project has a long genesis rooted in thoughtful and ambitious organization and unwavering volunteer commitment. We celebrate these artists that have created images to bring all of the text written about water issues to life.
Our misuse of you as we forgive our misuse of you as we forgive others their misuse of us. Woman.
Well, it's been a great opportunity to collaborate with my mom on artwork. I mean, what a rare opportunity. As Liz mentioned, I think the video has a real kind of narrative, or it tells a story in a gestural way through dance and music of the cycles. And so you get a feeling just through their movement or the interpretation of dance of what that story is about. What I would like to bring to our piece is kind of creating a sculptural environment that video can then just be a platform that can be set aside, put forth. And the feeling I'm looking for is creating something that is talking about restoring a balance or coming back into balance. Bringing, as we mentioned in our statement, but bringing the feminine side of, the nurturing or caring for some of the attributes that are traditionally anyway thought of as feminine back into balance with what has predominantly in the past been a more masculine perspective as far as stepping forth, getting things done, taking action for the short term perhaps, not as long-sighted, and restoring that balance or bringing it back and creating an environment that sort of says, okay, relax, take a breath, take something in, feel, listen to the rain, listen to the sounds of the water, the music, the dance, and obviously the overt metaphor of plumb bob and finding a balance in the gravity.
What I wanted to do was to create a kind of industrial ecosystem in the gallery and then put the narrative of the creation of this place into the sculpture. So it's sort of trying to marry sculpture and a community-based practice together. So it's not meant to be a beautiful piece. I think, a lot of other pieces in the show, the one we just saw by James and Liz, is really an aesthetically beautiful piece. But this is a very industrial aesthetic and almost a Russian constructivist aesthetic.
Right.
And I think of it as a junior high school science fair project, probably from the 1950s. So that's sort of the vintage of the piece. There is a pump, it's a hand pump, which I have to crank to make the water fall. The idea was, it's very hard to turn, but the idea was to use something that was manual rather than electric, just because, in keeping with this idea of really working with our hands and trying to restore the earth just through very simple technology. Creating a certain kind of irony or an ambiguity that I'm communicating something about. Repair is very important, but it's not anything that is certain or that we can be sure of. So a lot of times in my work, that's what the work is about, and the patterns almost become, they're fun or nice to look at, but they're not necessarily about something. More and more in my work, I'm moving into conveying actual kinds of images or experiences that relate to an idea. And this is certainly about that. So this was something that I was thinking about in terms of water, the movement of water for sure. It's interesting that people haven't necessarily felt that this is about water. I do feel that these are the movements are about waves, but I haven't. I've been trying not to make it too representational. You know, I didn't want to do that.
So when I want to see an artist speak about their work, the thing that I love to hear about and I can't get enough of is hearing about the creative process. When I come to a work of art, my question is, how did this come to be? And so I want to talk a little bit about that process. And so the title of this work is the longest title, certainly, that I've ever used. And one of the many fabulous ideas I got in graduate school was that the title can be part of the work. And especially in postmodern works of art, the title often is the work of art. And oftentimes the only way you can understand a work of art in postmodern art is to read the title. So my title is, around the world, each day 200 million women hours are spent gathering water while I complain about having to do the dishes. That, without that title, this is just perhaps an everyday scene in the sink. And my photography, my work, my daily work, is about the everyday. So I'm going to talk about that as well. So when it came time to think about a piece to enter into this juried competition, I thought about all the ways in which I intersect with water during the day. That isn't the first idea. That's not immediately thought of. And I would not have thought that I would have wound up with an image of just a knife with peanut butter smeared on it.
So, for instance, everything is turning digital, and I do not consider myself an expert on digital. But I just feel like sometimes the idea comes along, you think, okay, what's going to work here? And we thought about a book. And the original plan for this book was not a waterfall. And what was kind of beautiful to me, it was actually a kind of a fold-out map kind of book. And then we had this printed digitally, and it wasn't going in that, it just wouldn't do that. It did this. And so
Art often doesn't bend its way to your way, so you have to go, oh, I see you didn't want to go that way, Art.
I know. It has a natural kind of curl, and then we thought, well, in a way, that might be better. And so, and then we noticed that it had some books in the studio, and they were pretty much these big atlases, pretty much the same way, as if they're sort of moving up and down these stair steps of conversations. And so we thought that might work.
On another evening, dancers from the Purpich School appeared on a program of jazz music played by Laura Caviani on the piano. A special day for elementary, junior, and senior high school students featured a program prepared by Janica Vanderveld, a local well-known composer, and a committee of teachers and volunteers. Entitled Water Dance, a youth celebration of water through poetry, visual art, music, and dance. It included musicians and dancers from the Purpich Center for the Arts Education, several high school choirs, the U of Minnesota Women's Choir, and Zeitgeist, a percussion group. As you can see, this project offered something for everybody. It received rave reviews and refuses to be finished. Plans for it serve as a model for galleries in other cities of the United States and in several foreign countries are underway. Its first stop is Rochester, Minnesota, and next to Hudson, Wisconsin, then off to faraway places. Look for it in your area or arrange for it yourself. Water needs you. It's in danger.